Thank you for taking an interest in volunteering with Cancer Support Mallorca. This video will explain why CSG needs volunteers, why volunteers need training, what is expected of volunteers, and what obligations they have. First though, I should tell you all that CSG does. Cancer Support Mallorca is a support group that was set up to help foreigners and their families who are affected in some way by cancer. We offer all kinds of help. We have professional counselors, nutritionists, therapists, and trainers who all help to give patients and their family members all the support they need during these difficult times. So how can volunteers help? Because we are a non-profit organization, we rely solely on donations from local businesses and residents. Therefore, we cannot afford to pay people for many of the tasks that need to be performed to help patients. Each patient is different, and so are their needs. Therefore, we need a wide range of volunteers with different skill sets. The more volunteers we have to call on, the more we can spread the load, so that the work doesn't always fall on one or two people. But why do volunteers need training? Firstly, because the law requires it. We have to pay insurance to cover all our volunteers, and the insurance requires that all volunteers be trained. Apart from that, we want to make sure that the service we provide is unified, that all patients receive the same fair treatment from our volunteers. Finally, we train our volunteers to avoid any misunderstandings that could harm the patient and even lead to a lawsuit against the volunteer or the charity. This video is a generic training. After this, volunteers receive specific training according to the task they volunteer for. We also send regular training updates to all volunteers that must be read and kept for future reference. So, what are the requirements to volunteer for CSG? We don't ask for a lot. Firstly, a volunteer must be an empathetic person who is willing to help others. If they prefer not to work directly with the patients, that is fine, as there are many behind-the-scenes tasks that they can help with. Secondly, volunteers need to have a bit of free time and be willing to commit. We don't expect volunteers to dedicate endless hours to us every week. A couple of hours a month is normally enough, but we do ask that once a volunteer offers to do a task, they commit to this and don't let us down at the last minute unless absolutely necessary. After volunteers have passed this training, they will be added to a WhatsApp group. This group is the channel we use to notify all volunteers of the tasks they are needed for. As we will see, some are regular weekly tasks, others are one-off tasks. Nobody is expected to volunteer for each and every task, but once someone volunteers for and accepts their task, we will be relying on that person to carry out that task to the best of their ability. So, what do volunteers for CSG have to do? Well, there are a number of different tasks that can be divided into the following groups. Reception. This refers to our drop-in centers in the different hospitals on the island. Presently, we have centers in Son Espaces, Son Yat-se, and we are waiting to expand into Manacor and Inca too. Each center is slightly different, so volunteers will receive specific instructions depending on where they are assigned. Admin. This would involve behind-the-scenes work, event planning, helping with graphic design, social media, writing content for our website, etc. Hospital visits. Sadly, many of our patients do not have a family here. Therefore, when requested by themselves or the hospital, we will send volunteers to visit them to keep them company. Home visits. As a protectionary measure, whenever possible, this will be done in pairs. Sometimes it is enough to go and sit with the patient and give them some company, but home visits can also include practical help, such as driving a patient to hospital visits, dog walking, school runs, cleaning, buying provisions, etc. Fundraising. We do not normally have time to organize fundraisers, but sometimes CSG friends put on fundraisers and ask for our help with the logistics, in which case, we need volunteers to help with event planning, looking for venues, sourcing prices, etc. Translations. Volunteers that speak Spanish and another language fluently can help with translations at doctor's appointments. We also help clients who need help to apply for benefits, disabled parking, etc. and sometimes we may need written translations for medical reports or other documents. Awareness. We have a series of talks that we presently deliver in Spanish and English, but we are keen to expand into other languages. This is the main category of tasks, and as mentioned previously, volunteers will receive extra training where needed, especially when dealing directly with the patient. Okay, and what rights does a volunteer for CSG have? They will receive all the necessary information, training, and support to perform their tasks. As mentioned, they will be insured against damage to themselves and damage they may cause others. We will be working in a safe environment. They will become a member of our association, meaning they can attend our AGM, where their contributions will be respected and recognized. They will have the support of the admin team and a counselor at all times. They can claim back any expenses and request attestation for the hours volunteered. Obviously, they would need to present receipts. All their data will be processed according to the data protection laws. They are free to resign at any time. And what are their obligations? We ask that they offer active support and fulfill their tasks happily. They must cooperate, be diligent, and follow any instructions provided. They have to participate in all training provided and obey health and safety regulations. They must respect and care for any materials that they are given to perform their task. Certain tasks can require a uniform and ID. They must always comply with this. Keeping patient and organizational confidentiality is a must. Volunteers cannot accept compensation. If anyone offers money to cover parking, fuel expenses, etc., the patient must be informed that these expenses are already covered. If they insist, the money must be donated to CSG. When asked to work with a minor, which is not very often, they will have to produce a criminal check. Under no circumstances should a volunteer ever buy or give a patient medication that has not been prescribed to them by their doctor. If in doubt, consult with the admin team. To be safe, it is best to never buy or give a patient anything without first consulting with the admin team. So, what happens now? The email we sent also contains a volunteer agreement and a link to a short questionnaire. It is essential that the volunteers fill both these out and send them to us so we can process the information and add them to our trained volunteer list. Once this has been done, they will be sent a certificate as well as a training manual and other training material. They will be added to the CSG Volunteer WhatsApp group, and we just need to wait for the next task assignments. We would like to thank them in advance for taking the time to partake in this training, and we look forward to working with them.